Welcome back to another live broadcast. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, we have an encore presentation about Parkinson's, diet, and nutrition. And we're bringing back our very favorite brain health dietitian, Casey Farlow, to talk specifically about sugar cravings and Parkinson's. So we're going to talk about why so many people with Parkinson's struggle with them, and spoiler alert, it's not because you lack self-control. And then we're going to talk to you about some helpful strategies to improve your sugar craving. So if you missed our first interview, we'll go ahead and put that link in the description below this video. And for those of you who haven't met Casey yet, make sure you say hello. She's a registered dietitian, nutritionist at Theory Health. She has advanced training in functional medicine approaches to brain health. She uses evidence-based medication or medical nutrition therapy alongside cutting-edge testing to provide a personalized plan that assists clients in achieving optimal brain health. So she is lovingly called the brain dietitian because she specializes in neurological diagnoses, concussion recovery, traumatic brain injury, and mental health, which is why we love her so much. So let me go ahead and bring her on here.
Oh my gosh. Hi, you guys. So good to be back. I love the Invigorate community. You guys have been so wonderful to me. I got so many wonderful emails from you guys from the last post, our last video. So I'm excited to be back to talk about sugar.
Sugar. I know. I was getting ready for this interview and I was kind of lining up some of my questions for you. And I was thinking about how valuable this is going to be for people because sugar cravings are really common in Parkinson's, but when you try and do some research into why that's happening or what to do about it, there's really not a lot of information out there.
It's really not. It was surprising, honestly,
yes.
Super surprising. Because we know that lower dopamine obviously would increase sugar cravings. So it was super fascinating that there weren't many studies on it. I really was only able to find one. And it was a fairly small pilot study out of Baylor College of Medicine. So, but yeah, it's pretty surprising that there isn't more research on this stuff.
Yes, absolutely. So I think this is going to be a really valuable broadcast for people. Casey did write a blog post about sugar cravings and Parkinson's that's over on the Invigorate website. We'll make sure to put that link, of course, below this video. A lot of what we talk about today is actually not covered in that blog post. So what you guys are getting here is really special and unique. So I wanted to start by just saying, a while back, I posted in our private Facebook community asking people what the biggest struggle was when it came to changing their diet and changing their nutrition. And I got 77 responses in, I think, a day. And over 20% of them had to do with, I crave sugar, I'm addicted to sugar, I eat ice cream. Yes, I eat ice cream 3 times a day, just can't stop. And I think a lot of people really just say that they lack self-control or that they, it's something about their willpower or their inner constitution.
Sure.
Really, we're kind of figuring out that it's something different than that. So why do people with Parkinson's struggle so much with sugar cravings?
Well, there's 2 different things. So those with Parkinson's, have lower dopamine, and sugar increases dopamine. So of course you'd be craving sugar, right? Because your body inherently wants to increase dopamine. Also, in the gut microbiome, we see dysbiosis and we see increased candida, like yeast. And that can literally make you crave sweets. Just having that bacteria in your gut tells your brain to eat more sweets because that's its favorite food source. Isn't that crazy that the bacteria literally can tell your brain, I want to eat more sugar? I mean, it's really wild. So through the vagus nerve, we see that it's sending messages to your brain to eat more sugar. So not only the dopamine, but also your gut bacteria. So I don't know if we can talk about our course, but in our course, we teach you how to slowly change your microbiome to cut back those sugar cravings, to increase that good bacteria and decrease that bad bacteria, that dysbiosis that can make you crave sugar.
Definitely. We can definitely talk about the course and we can definitely talk about it. Yes. But I think that's something that I wanted to really just, if you're watching, for you to give yourself some slack and think about a Parkinson's diagnosis. By the time you have Parkinson's symptoms, the literature shows us that 60 to 80% of your brain cells that produce dopamine have been damaged. And so you're operating on such low levels of dopamine. And of course, we supplement with Parkinson's medications.
Right.
But biologically, your body is trying to figure out how to reach homeostasis again, reach, some type of functioning status. And the fastest way to do that is through sugar and a sugar hit for that dopamine. So
it's just trying to get back to baseline desperately. So it's telling your brain, like, please give me more sugar so I can just increase that dopamine a little bit.
Definitely. And then our gut microbiome changes over time and makes you crave more. But as Casey said, we're working together on this course, the Parkinson's Gut Health Protocol, to help start reversing some of those changes in the gut microbiome. And of course, we can't reverse the damage that's been done to your brain, but we can help restore gut function. And actually, a lot of dopamine is made in the gut itself. So there is hope. And even though you might have a Parkinson's diagnosis, there's a lot you can do to fix your microbiome.
Absolutely. So many easy changes. Oops, my phone's going off. Sorry.
You're good. You're popular lady.
Hey, it's a live broadcast, people.
Yep. Which, speaking of live broadcast, let's just say hi to a few people. Becky's in here.
For sure. Oh my gosh, Becky. I told her today, I was like, okay, Becky, I'm going to need your support, so you better comment.
She's here. She's here.
So awesome. I'm super proud of her.
Michael's here, Joanne, Sandy, Lori, Karina, Marianne's in here, one of our boosters, Doris, Kathy, Elir. We've got so many people watching. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you're enjoying this broadcast, make sure you hit a like or a love and share it out to the world. So Mickey's checking in here from New Jersey as well. Okay, so our community is very educated.
Yeah, I know. You guys are so smart. Like, wow, I'm so impressed, honestly. I got so many emails of like studies. I'm like, you guys are really on the ball. So intelligent.
Yes, I feel like I learn as much from our community as I get to teach, which is really fun.
Amazing.
But regardless of how informed we are about sugar and the microbiome, I think that some aspects are worth repeating when it comes to sugar, because we talk about blood sugar levels.
Yeah.
And we talk about why, fluctuating blood sugar is bad and that whole thing. So can you talk to us about what goes on in the body when we eat food and how this kind of relates to blood sugar levels, and kind of like give us a bigger idea of why this is really that important for brain health?
Yeah, sure. So let's kind of do the analogy of like if you have a bunch of sugar. So let's say you have a bunch of chocolate bars. So what happens to your blood sugar? So this is where it is to begin. When you have that chocolate, all of a sudden your blood sugar goes whoop, way up here. And then inevitably, the only way to go after that chocolate is where? Whoosh, way, way down. So when you have that blood sugar spike, then it goes way down, and then you have symptoms of low blood sugar. So then your body's like, I need more sugar. I need that boost again. Sugar cravings come in, have a bunch more chocolate, then you go way up. And then what happens? You go way, way, way down. So having these blood sugar fluctuations throughout the day can cause brain fog, fatigue, just feeling bad, low energy. Okay. So the goal is to keep your blood sugar stable. So instead of going like this, we want it to go like this. So how do we do that? Well, first, we want to have a mixture of macronutrients. So what are macronutrients? So carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. We want all three of those things for our meals to keep our blood sugar really stable. Okay. Fiber also. So fiber also helps to keep that blood sugar really stable. So I know some of you guys in the Parkinson's community have shown worry about fruit. You're like, fruit has so much sugar. Is it bad? Well, fruit also has a lot of fiber in it, and that fiber keeps your blood sugar really stable. So although it has a lot of sugar, it's not going to cause those blood sugar spikes like eating chocolate would, right? So the fiber and those mixture of macronutrients is really beneficial for keeping your blood sugar stable.
Awesome. And something you talked about was this fluctuation that comes when your blood sugar rises and falls and rises and falls again. And something that I think is confusing, at least to some of my Parkinson's clients, and maybe this is for the people watching too, is it's hard to separate what are Parkinson's symptoms from what are maybe just general malaise or bad feeling, maybe from our diet and from our food. So when our blood sugar fluctuates, I know that a lot of people who have been diagnosed with Parkinson's report having really debilitating fatigue. That's like one of the biggest reasons why people diagnosed with Parkinson's report or file for disability is fatigue. And then we have people suffering from brain fog, dizziness, really feeling weak. So can you just reiterate again how it might not be Parkinson's specifically, and it may be how your diet is impacting kind of your symptoms?
Yeah, I mean, fatigue, honestly, is one of the chief complaints I see at my practice across the board. So some of those like blood sugar fluctuations can cause fatigue, brain fog. You can start to feel dizzy. You can kind of have cold sweats as low blood sugar. And just having more sugar cravings can be a sign that your blood sugar is unstable, right? So yeah, fatigue is one of those things that low blood sugar is one of the main culprits of fatigue. So you want to make sure that you're keeping your blood sugar stable, because it might not be the Parkinson's that's causing the fatigue. And just to be sure, changing your diet, using our course to change your diet, will ensure that your blood sugar is staying really stable and that it's not attributed to low blood sugar or blood sugar fluctuations for that matter.
Yes. And some analogy that I use with my clients when we're trying to tackle all these different areas at once, we're trying to essentially improve the Parkinson's symptoms. There may be a lot of things that Parkinson's has impacted that might not improve. That's just a byproduct of a degenerative progressive diagnosis. However, there are things like diet and exercise that can build a stronger foundation and maybe wash out some of these symptoms that we may have attributed to Parkinson's, but may not be fully, to blame on the Parkinson's diagnosis. So
yeah, it's hard because then you start to blame everything on the Parkinson's diagnosis, right? When it could be something completely different.
Absolutely. 100%. So tell us a little bit. So you mentioned our course, and if you all are watching, you may be familiar with the fact that Casey and I are coming together to create this protocol that's coming out in the next week or two. So make sure that you are tuned in to all things Invigorate to make sure that you know when that goes live. You can also sign up for updates at invigoratept.com/gut health, all one word, gut health. But in addition to that, the reason why we do the course and to minimize sugar is to help lessen the progression of Parkinson's over time, because we know that elevated blood sugar levels for a long period of time can do serious damage, not just to our brains, but to a lot of our organs. So Casey, can you talk us through maybe what happens in your body when we're eating sugars and sweets all the time and our blood sugar stays elevated? What happens in our body?
So when your blood has too much sugar in it, it literally becomes thick. So it has issues getting through all those tiny capillaries throughout your body and your brain, inevitably. So it causes damage into all those capillaries. So that's why we see like kidney issues, vision issues, because your kidneys have those tiny little capillaries all through them, and so do your eyes. So, having that high blood sugar for long periods of time can really do damage in your brain. And there was a really cool Parkinson's study with 2 million people. Okay, so that's a huge study. And there was a 30% increased risk of Parkinson's if diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. I mean, that's pretty astounding. But it gets even better. Okay, so 49% increased chance if you've had complications with diabetes. 400% increase for younger folks diagnosed with Parkinson's, so 25 to 44. So that shows us that blood sugar fluctuations or uncontrolled diabetes can literally potentially cause Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. So keeping your blood sugar stable is probably one of the most important things you can do for your Parkinson's progression.
I saw that study too, and we had someone comment in the comments before this broadcast started that there are a lot of people who have been diagnosed with either type 1 diabetes or type 2. We don't have to get into how they differ, but there are a lot of people in our community that have both of those diagnoses. And especially with type 2, the fortunate thing about getting your blood sugar under control and changing your diet and adapting your gut microbiome is at least theoretically, you should be able to improve your blood sugar regulation and improve your type 2 diabetes.
100%. Yes.
Yes. So you're not just changing your eating habits for Parkinson's, everybody. You're changing it for your overall health, for the future of your brain, protect you against Alzheimer's as much as possible, make sure that you're living your highest quality life right now. So
absolutely, for sure. Yeah. I mean, even if you have type 2 diabetes, it's very easy to control with diet and exercise to where you don't risk any damage. If your blood sugar is controlled, it will not cause any damage, right? And that is attainable to have blood sugar management and control, even if you are diagnosed with type 1 or type 2 diabetes.
Definitely. And we know that type 1 diabetes is definitely a different beast, but all of these dietary changes are going to be beneficial regardless of type 1 or type 2.
100%.
So Casey, we have so many people checking in. I love.
Oh my gosh!
I have to show this comment. Omotola's here, our friend across the pond, who we love. Everybody go check out Omotola Thomas. But she said, I literally just had a slice of cake before seeing this. That's okay. Do
you know what would make your blood sugar stable if you did eat a piece of cake? Is if you had your piece of cake with your lunch or with your dinner. Because having that mixture of macronutrients is going to keep your blood sugar more stable. Whereas if you just have the slice of cake, what happens to your blood sugar? It goes way up and then it comes way down. But if you had it with some fat and some protein, it's going to stay a little bit more stable. So if you do have the piece of cake or the ice cream, having it closer to your meal is beneficial for your blood sugar.
Look at that, coming in to save the day. Omotola, you're safe. Just make sure you have some other food with it and get back on track whenever you can. Okay, so speaking of tips to keep our blood sugar stable, you shared a lot of tips in our blog post that you wrote, but can you share maybe the top 3 tips that you have for people to keep their sugar cravings at bay?
For sure. So the biggest thing is keeping those macronutrient balanced. Okay, so having your protein, having your fat, with your carbohydrates. So I created this a little, what would you call it? A calculation, if you will. And it's called PP plus FF to create a brain boosting meal. So PP is phytonutrients and protein. So making sure you have protein with phytonutrients. So what are phytonutrients? It's those really good colors of fruits and vegetables. We also want that FF, so fat and fiber. Okay, so healthy fats are so essential to brain health. I cannot emphasize that enough. And fiber to feed those good gut bacteria. So where do you get fiber? I want most of your fiber, again, to come from fruits and vegetables and some whole grains, okay? Another tip is to make sure you have support. So support increases dopamine instead of sugar, okay? So when I say support, this Invigorate community is so wonderful because you guys can all support each other in your journey, right? Having community is so essential for your dopamine, your family, having family support. And if you don't have community, I know you guys already have community because you're part of this, but having a therapist or somebody to talk to get out those emotions, because living with chronic illness is really tough and you need that support. I wholeheartedly believe that if you have that support, it can help increase those dopamine levels naturally. We also want to support that good gut bacteria. And listen, you don't have to necessarily take a probiotic. There's lots of ways to get good gut bacteria. Sauerkraut, I take a little sauerkraut shot every day. I don't know about you, but it's amazing. I love sauerkraut. Kimchi also is really good. Kombucha, pickles, I love pickles. But there's other ways to get that beneficial bacteria. And prebiotics are just as important. So prebiotics are that fiber, that fertilizer to feed your good gut bacteria. I think I covered 3, didn't I?
You did.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Balancing your blood sugar with a brain boosting plate, that PPFF. We've got seeking out support instead of sugar, and then feeding your good gut bacteria. And I did want to say, we cover this in our course because we want to make sure that everybody does this all in a safe way. But if you are taking an MAO-B inhibitor for blood pressure, it's often prescribed in Parkinson's, you want to be really careful about what probiotics you consume, like sauerkraut and kimchi, because fermented foods do not react very well with MAO-B inhibitors. They can actually really spike your blood pressure. So make sure that before you go wild on the sauerkraut shots, that you no, not oops at all. I mean, just
no, for sure.
careful. And this is why you always want to kind of check in with a professional as you change your diet, because some things react poorly with some medications you're on. So just make sure that before you go insane on your diet, you check in with your healthcare professional. So those are awesome tips. I love that. And then we've got so many people checking in here. We're going to get to your questions near the end of this broadcast. Yeah, we have quite a few.
Woo!
Oh, we do have a question. Can you just run over what prebiotics are versus probiotics?
Okay, so prebiotics are the food for the good bacteria. So prebiotics are fibers that are not digested that the bacteria eats, essentially. So it's fertilizer. Whereas a probiotic is the actual bacteria. So prebiotic is the food for the bacteria, and probiotic is the actual living bacteria. I hope that was clear.
100%. 100% clear. And we do have more questions about prebiotics and probiotics from somebody later. We will get to that. But, and also, Anne, I see your question about sugar substitutes. That's coming up. So one thing that we talk about a lot, or maybe I hear from a lot, but we don't get to talk about a lot, is this weight gain, weight loss kind of fluctuations that we have. Some people really want to lose weight and they can't. Other people really wish they could keep weight on and are losing it. So
it's a conundrum.
Yes, it is a conundrum. And I know that there are so many factors, right, that can go into why people are gaining weight or why they're losing so many things. But are there some alternatives to eating ice cream and sweets? And I know that someone commented that their doctor told them to just drink Ensure to gain weight. And so we have a lot of people who have been told to eat these kind of sugary, fatty substances to gain weight. Are there some alternatives that might fulfill the same kind of composition that are a bit healthier?
I feel like getting those really good proteins and healthy fats and healthy carbohydrates, you can put on weight. I mean, adding coconut oil to your smoothie, right? So getting good sources of fat, calorically dense. I mean, I don't know about you, but I could not drink Ensure all day. I would literally, I would die. I mean, that stuff is disgusting. So, trying to have those macronutrients in balance is a good way to put on weight. You don't necessarily have to take in external supplementation like Ensure or ice cream for that matter. Having healthy fats and good protein and carbohydrates, you can gain weight in the right amounts.
Great. And if you are really struggling, say they're your husband and wife couple, and I think someone commented, wife wants to gain weight, husband wants to lose weight, or someone's been eating a bunch and not gaining weight. At some point, it's a good idea to check in with someone like Casey, who can look at your individual situation to really identify what's going on in your gut, maybe what's going on with your hormones, do a little bit more investigative work to figure out why you're losing weight or why you're gaining weight, because it's not the same reason across the board.
Yeah, it's not black and white. I mean, there's so many things that can lead to weight gain and weight loss, and it really takes a trained professional to kind of look at the big picture and figure out for you what the situation is. It's going to be different than somebody else. So, I always recommend working with a dietitian or a physician. I prefer dietitian when it comes to diet because I think that we're just more trained in that. But that, everybody is going to be different. And it really takes looking at your entire picture to be able to figure out the right course of action for you.
Yes. And I'm going to throw your website up here on the screen so that if people want to go and check out your site, I have no financial affiliation with Casey. If you go see her, great for you. So your website's up there for people. And
wonderful.
Yes. Another question is about flavor. And I love all these questions that are coming in. Everybody, keep the questions coming. We will get to them, I promise. We're collecting them and we'll circle back. But sometimes we make this sound so easy, right?
Yeah.
You just eat carbohydrates and protein and keep your blood sugar level and you'll feel fantastic.
Sure.
And we know that, especially with our Parkinson's crew, there are a lot of obstacles that can get in the way to eating, like having difficulty swallowing, difficulty chewing, sometimes difficulty getting food to your face. Lack of smell is one of them.
Yeah.
And lack of smell really impacts appetite. It impacts your taste. And so something that happens is a lot of people intensify the flavor of their foods and they go for things that have really strong flavors like sugary ice cream, or they really, cover their whole plate in condiments or salt.
Sure.
So what tips do you have for people to intensify maybe the flavor of their food without adding a bunch of sugar or salt or MSG?
So the biggest thing is you want to activate your olfactory. So you want to activate your ability to smell, because that's going to activate your taste buds. So one really cool way to do this is go into your spice rack, open up your spices before you eat, and smell them. Okay, so that kind of just activates your olfactory response, and then your taste buds become more activated. Really interesting. Also, exercise can help your taste buds to be more active. So eating after exercise, you should be able to taste your food a little bit better. I had one more thing to say, and I totally forgot what it was going to be. Do you have any? The tongue scraper, like you said last time, the tongue scraper can come in really handy to expose your taste buds a little bit better. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the tongue scraper, but essentially it's something that scrapes your tongue after you brush your teeth, and it helps to expose those taste buds.
Yep. And you can find it on Amazon. You can also find it at Walgreens. We have some people in our community who use it. It's a stainless steel little U-shaped tongue scraper. We teach you how to use it inside of our course, but you run it along your tongue in the morning to get off some of that gunk and expose your taste buds. And we've had people have really good results with that as far as improving appetite, being able to taste some flavors in their food. So it's amazing. Like a $3 or $4 investment, I think.
Yeah, it's worth it.
I definitely have one.
I want you guys to taste your food, because that's one of the main enjoyments of life, right? I mean, it's so important that you guys are able to enjoy your food instead of just having to eat ice cream so you can enjoy it.
Exactly. And this next question, I put down because some people obviously go directly to ice cream and sweets because they're not sure what else might kind of hit their taste bud right. So what are some healthy alternatives for ice cream and sweets and cookies that you recommend subbing in? Because you don't have to just get rid of all of this stuff and never have another sugary sweet thing again,
for sure.
Right?
I mean, there are a ton of resources out there of different blogs with like healthier dessert items. Because I don't know about you guys, but I like to have a sweet in the evening, but I want it to be nutritious and not spike my blood sugar. I'm trying to think of what the blog was that I love. Oh, it's called Chocolate Covered Katie. I love her recipes so much. I've tried a bunch of them personally, and they're really good and nutritious. So nutrient dense, having healthy fats and protein in your dessert to keep your blood sugar stable. So also using, some more natural sweeteners like honey, bananas. There's that really great banana ice cream recipe in the blog for you guys to check out, and the different flavorings for banana ice cream. So you can make like a mint chocolate chip banana ice cream. So delicious, you guys. Oh my gosh. Also, you can use dates or 100% maple syrup to sweeten things up. I really want to guard you guys against doing artificial sweeteners. There has been a lot of studies with it messing up your good gut bacteria, so messing up your GI tract, which for you guys would not serve to benefit you. And it can also increase sugar cravings because your body thinks it's getting sugar, but it's not. And then, a few hours later, you're going to have more of that sugar craving. At least that's what the studies are showing us. So again, I urge you guys to try to steer clear of artificial sweeteners. Go with the real sweeteners like honey, 100% maple syrup, to, get those cravings under control.
How do you feel about monk fruit?
Okay, yeah, monk fruit's great.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
there's so many different like great sugar alternatives. I love dates. Bananas are really good, like in a smoothie to sweeten it up. Honey, maple syrup. I'm trying to think of what else. Monk fruit is great. Yeah. I do
Okay.
think that some people have sensitivities to monk fruit, so you do need to be careful. I'm one of those people, like I don't tolerate it very well, but most people do great with it. So
Okay.
yeah.
And I think that it's worth kind of diving into a little bit more. When she's talking about sugar substitutes, she's talking about things like Splenda, Sweet and
Mm-hmm.
Low. There's another really popular one, but essentially aspartame and sucralose. I can never say that right.
There's so many.
Sucralose.
Sucralose.
So yes. And then I know people are going to ask, what about stevia? How do you feel about stevia?
Oh gosh. Okay. The jury's still kind of out. I mean, again, there have been studies showing that it's not great for the microbiome. There's good gut bacteria. So I would say use the real stuff when you can, using honey or maple syrup instead. That's just my take on it. I mean, again, the jury's still out, but some of the new research coming out recently is not making it look all that great. What do you think?
Okay. I'm kind of on that boat too. I'm just
Yeah,
as close to nature as you can possibly get.
for sure.
If you had to choose stevia or Splenda, I would say stevia,
Yeah,
you know?
for sure. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's
So
a better alternative than a lot of artificial sweeteners, but I don't think it's as good as dates and honey, bananas, things like that can help sweeten it up.
yeah, definitely. Thank you for your question, Anne. I really appreciate that. Let's see. So we're going to tackle some questions that are coming in. So if
Yeah,
you have
go.
some questions, put them in the comments. And we will hop on them right now. While you're putting your questions in, I did want to say that if you are listening to this and you're feeling motivated to start shifting your diet away from some of maybe the sugar heavy things and more towards like a brain boosting diet, Casey and I are releasing our Parkinson's Gut Health Protocol course very soon, probably in the next week or two. You heard it here first. We're just finishing it up, putting all those fine little touches on it to make sure that it's ready to rock. It's a 6-week course, and it walks you through the 4 phases of gut healing to help you rebuild your microbiome and decrease inflammation in your body, in your brain. So if you all are interested in hearing more about it, make sure that you're signed up for our email list. I'm going to put the link on the screen right now. You can sign up for our email list. You'll be the first ones to know about when this course goes live. And it will only be open for a short period of time because we're essentially going to take everyone who signs up and we're going to walk through week by week, 6 weeks in a row, how to rebuild your gut microbiome. So make sure that you're on our email list. We would love to have you join us. As I've said before, this has been in the works for Invigorate for over 5 years. And Casey just kind of came in and fit the bill perfectly and has been amazing to collaborate with. So we've got tips on, constipation. We're going to walk you through the 4 phases of gut healing. We've got meal plans, supplements, all kinds of good stuff inside of this program. And it's only what you need to know and nothing more. So
And the latest and greatest of Parkinson's research, which I think is the best part about it.
Yes, we do talk so much about Parkinson's research and the gut, what it's telling us, what it's not telling us, and making sure that you guys are informed. And we've got a list of references that's like hundreds of studies long at this point that back up the course, which is really, really fun to see. So make sure you're signed up at invigoratept.com/gut health. And you can also like our Invigorate Facebook page, and we'll make sure to let everybody on Facebook know when that goes live as well. So if you guys are ready to hop into questions, let's see if we can do this. Casey, are you ready for questions?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay, awesome. Let's see. Let's start from the top here.
Yeah.
Hide this guy. And Aileen is back. She says, which fruit is best for low sugar and carbs?
Yeah. So I would say berries are the best. But you guys, I don't want you to be scared of fruit. It is such a good source of fiber and can really help to balance out your blood sugar. Okay. I find that there's a lot of fruit fear in the world that's completely unnecessary. Fruit is so high in antioxidants that protect your brain. Okay. They're really, really important. But when it comes to the lowest sugar and carbohydrates, I would say berries are the best. So blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, strawberries, those are the lowest in sugar and the highest in antioxidants.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much for your question, Aileen. Let's see. Mary Ann, one of our amazing boosters, is in here. Is sugar in the raw an alternative to refined sugar?
No, it's actually the same thing. Okay. So I remember when I was a kid and I would go to Smoothie King and it would say turbinado. And I thought it was super healthy for me. I was so excited. And it come to find out it's just sugar. So sugar is sugar is sugar. Sugar in the raw is the same exact thing as refined sugar. But it's in the raw. So it's going to do the same exact thing to your blood sugar.
Okay. Good to know. Let's take this guy off. Up next, let's see. We have there's so many questions here. Okay, we have Brad Boatler had a question. I was trying to find it. It was talking about looking forward to hearing this information. Wonder how it affects me as a type 1 diabetic of 39 years and a Parky warrior. So we kind of covered that a little bit. And just Brad, I think that what you heard from Casey earlier, and I think somebody else asked about Parkinson's and diabetes, maybe who tuned in late. So if you're tuning in late, go back to the beginning of this broadcast. We talk a little bit about the connection between diabetes and Parkinson's, but maintaining healthy blood sugar is going to be good for both diagnoses. Did you have anything else to say about type 1 diabetes?
I mean, the same rules pretty much apply. So the more that you can keep your blood sugar stable, the better, whether you're type 1 or type 2. So that involves like making sure your insulin is correct, your amounts are correct, you're eating regularly. All those things are really important. It's all about just keeping your blood sugar stable, whether you have diabetes or you don't, because you can find blood sugar management with type 1 diabetes or type 2 diabetes, like we talked about before.
Cool. Awesome, Brad. Thanks so much for your question. Then we have Lynn, who said, my husband has Parkinson's and eats continuously sweet stuff, savory, and bread, but doesn't put on weight. Is this the medication or a symptom of the disease?
So with Parkinson's, you have a really high metabolic rate because your body, it has more movement throughout the day, right? So it definitely can be a symptom of the disease, but it really takes a trained practitioner to see the whole picture and what his diet kind of looks like to be able to determine that, really.
And I think something too that goes unmentioned sometimes that we talked about in the course, but people diagnosed with Parkinson's typically have deficiencies in different micronutrients, and your gut flora is different than the non-Parkinson's person. And so our digestion and the ability for us to absorb nutrients really depends on the status of our gut health. And do we have the right enzymes breaking things down? Do we have an overgrowth of bad bacteria? What's going on in our gut that's maybe not letting us absorb those nutrients so that we can put on weight? And there's quite a bit of evidence that talks about the correlation between Parkinson's and some of those deficiencies, which is why nutrition is more than just a diet that you have to go on. It's about what chemicals, what medication, food as medicine, as we talked about in the course, what medicine are you giving your body through food? So Lynn, it may be a good idea, like Casey said, to maybe work with a practitioner just to figure out really maybe what is going on for him specifically.
Absolutely.
Cool. Let's see. Oh, John, this one's going to take up the whole screen. But John, we'll tune in here. What's your thinking about probiotics and prebiotics? Someone told him that yogurt and kefir was a good start, but they seem to be dairy. Maybe talking about goat's milk. And are the prebiotics and probiotics good for us? So maybe talking about some of those things in the context of dairy not being a strong choice for those with Parkinson's.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of those probiotic-rich foods are dairy, so kefir, yogurt, but there are ways to get those probiotics without having dairy. So some of the things I talked about before, depending on the medication you're on, but sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, pickles, fermented foods are really great ways to get those good bacteria too. So you don't necessarily have to have those dairy, kefir and yogurt, although kefir and yogurt are really high sources of probiotics and they're really great. But even more beneficial, honestly, is the prebiotics. So getting that good fiber to fertilize your good gut bacteria.
Perfect. Yes. We're just going to hit that gut bacteria home today over and over and over. Let's see. I'm going to put up Elir's comment here. Elir is one of our original boosters. I don't have a weight problem because I exercise regularly, but I must confess to having a sweet tooth. His wife tries to control the cookie jar, but he sneaks cookies. I'm sure Elir is not the only person who does this. If it's harming me, I would appreciate tips on controlling the urges. So can you speak to when someone is right in the heart of a sugar craving, what's a good way to kind of ease that craving in the moment?
So I would say having a macronutrient balanced snack. So maybe having like a banana with some nut butter. So you get, the carbohydrate with the protein and the fat, which will help stabilize your blood sugar. And I'm telling you, if you give yourself a few minutes, that craving will go away very likely. But having like a sweet substitute like fruit, like fruit is a great way to kind of appease your sweet tooth. But having that balance of macronutrients, I know I say it over and over again, but it is the most important thing when it comes to reducing your sugar cravings.
Perfect. Yep, definitely. There's no secret. There's no, hidden gem that you're going to find that isn't just sound nutritional advice here, everybody.
I wish there was like a magic bullet that was really easy and one little supplement would just get rid of all of your sugar cravings, but unfortunately, It's not the case.
Not the case. Nope, you've got to eat real food. All right, let's see. Marianne says, how can you measure your blood sugar fluctuations?
Yeah, I mean, you can get a blood sugar monitor from Walgreens. I mean, you can measure it yourself to kind of see what your blood sugar is doing before and after your meals. And which foods are actually increasing your blood sugar more than others, right? So you can definitely measure this on your own. Absolutely.
Okay.
There's all kinds of fancy devices now, like with all these biohackers, but I don't know what they're called, and they're probably very expensive. But you can just get one from Walgreens or any kind of pharmacy will sell a blood sugar monitor.
Definitely. And, there's also low-tech ways to do it that just require you to tune into your body and figure out, when you do have that piece of cake on an empty stomach, what do you feel? That's probably your body in a sugar, elevation status. And then, how long does it take for blood sugar to kind of drop back?
About 2 hours. So I would really kind of judge after 2 hours of eating something how you feel. If you still feel energized, your blood sugar is probably stable. But if you're feeling just lethargic, dizzy, brain fog, then likely your blood sugar went way up and went way down. So kind of doing that 2-hour inventory check of like, how am I feeling 2 hours after my meal or snack? Am I feeling energized or am I feeling fatigued?
Mm-hmm. And finding a pattern, Marianne, if you aren't having symptoms of high blood pressure or high blood sugar or low blood sugar, it may not benefit you to track it since you're not, it's not, we always think about what's useful information. We have the capacity to measure everything these days, but not everything that we measure is really that useful. So
absolutely.
And maybe not.
Yeah, I do not. Yeah, I don't think you need the extra stress if you don't have type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes of having to look at that all day. Like Sarah said, like taking that 2-hour break and kind of doing inventory of how you're feeling, I think is way more meaningful.
Totally. Okay, next up is Ben. Ben is a super fan of Invigorate. He's awesome, super fit, motivated. Ben, thank you so much for watching and for supporting Invigorate. He asked, what is the acceptable amount of sugar that someone should have on a daily basis?
So it's really about added sugar because it depends on how your sugar is packaged, right? If it's in a lot of fiber or if it's with, fruits or vegetables, like sugar isn't necessarily bad or negative. So I would say you don't want to go higher than, I think it's 30 grams of added sugar. I could be wrong. But you want to limit the added sugar as much as possible, not the natural sugar. And I think now on food labels, it shows added sugar with the sugar that's inherently part of the food, which is wonderful because you can keep track of the added sugar.
Yeah. And, we talk a lot, we were talking before we went live, is how extreme should we encourage people to be, right? And some people, Ben, you may be to the point where you're trying to experiment with your sugar ratio or your sugar amounts per day. You're tracking it and you're trying to, cut down and kind of finagle things. If you're just starting out, just focus on having natural fruits and vegetables and not worrying too much about how many grams of sugar you have a day.
Yeah,
if you're having a giant diet soda every day with aspartame in it, or you're eating cake and ice cream 3 times a day, then don't measure your sugar levels necessarily. Just think about how you can replace one ice cream with maybe a healthier alternative and work your way down. So you don't have to track everything and make yourself neurotic. Unless you're at that point, Ben, if you really want to measure it and try, then shoot for the 30 grams of added sugar a day.
Yeah. I find that it just increases stress and anxiety around food.
Yeah.
Which for Parkinson's symptoms does not help the situation. So the less stress and anxiety you can have around food, the better. And that's why I love our course, because it's actionable, small steps that are sustainable instead of some crazy dietary overhaul, right?
Yes, exactly. And I knew this would come up in some form, so I'm going to throw it up here, and we may have to kind of talk in a general sense, but Yvette asked, I started keto and it's too complicated. I'm now in FA, so not having any sugar or flour, and weigh and measure my food. I'm not sure what FA is. Do you know what FA is?
I'm not familiar.
But what supplements are important? For example, Simprove, chlorella, glycine. So should we talk now about how you can't supplement away a bad diet? And do we want to have Yvette? Not that Yvette has a bad diet by any means.
Yeah.
But there are just so many questions about what supplements should I take. So can we have just maybe a general conversation around supplements and diet and how to think about supplements as part of your diet?
Supplements should just be a bonus, right, to optimize your brain health. But cannot replace an unhealthy diet. And it sounds like your diet, Yvette, is really great, right? You don't have a lot of sugar or flour. But sometimes when you're weighing and measuring your food constantly, it again can create that anxiety and stress around food, which to me is almost counterproductive to bettering your health, right? I think that stress is probably worse for your health than a bad diet, right? So we want to take as much stress out of the situation as possible. And when we get really nitpicky about our diet, it can create more of that food fear and more of that anxiety around food. So that's kind of my take on it. But in terms of the supplements that you actually listed, I'm not familiar with Simprove, chlorella. It's great, but again, it's not going to replace an unhealthy diet, right? Glycine is good too if you have like anxiety or what have you. I don't know. It's all like a personal decision, right? If it makes you feel good to get really nitpicky about your diet, by all means. But for the most part, the general public does not do well with like a very restricted keto type diet. It's not sustainable and it's not great for your health and for other reasons like gastrointestinally. I see a lot of gastrointestinal issues with keto diets. So it's all about balance, getting back to the basics.
Yep. And not stressing too much about, are you taking the right supplements? Yeah. We do talk about supplements in our course because it depends on what your objective is. Our objective in the course is to help you heal your gut lining and improve your Parkinson's symptoms. And so we give you a set amount of supplements to use, at least for this objective of healing your gut health. And then you may get to a point where, you have a different objective in your health and you want to take something different that would require a different supplement protocol. So this is, again, a great time to reinforce that, instead of spending thousands and thousands of dollars on supplements, meet with Casey or someone similar. And this isn't just a shameless plug of Casey. It really can save you a lot of sanity and stress to work with a professional who can tell you, based off of your blood work or your gut health status, your specific situation and diagnosis, here are maybe 3 or 4 supplements to try right now to focus on and kind of build your way through it. And that's what we try and do in the Parkinson's Gut Health Protocol, is strip everything down and tell you just specific things to focus on for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, however long you want to stretch out the protocol. and focus on these specific supplements. So I'm sorry, Yvette, that's not a more specific answer, but I hope that feels fair and we're not just going to, shove supplements down your throat.
No, for sure. And it's super individualized. Again, working with a provider to kind of help you personalize your supplements to get the best bang for your buck, right? I mean, you want to be taking the things that are the most effective and not just taking things because Google said like this one thing was good for whatever reason. Right. So you want to be really careful about that. And where you source your supplements is important too. Getting your supplements through a provider is way better than getting them from Walgreens.
Yeah. No offense to Walgreens.
No offense to Walgreens. I know I was about to say that. I was like, they're fine and all, but provider-based brands are just better quality and they're more efficacious.
Yes, I agree with that too. Okay, another question from Bridget Lind. Thanks so much for tuning in, Bridget. Are acidophilus tablets okay to take?
So there was that one study about certain medications with probiotics that you had in your blog post. For the general public, I mean, they're great. Like there's nothing wrong with a probiotic and they can really benefit your gut health. But again, I would check with your provider to make sure it doesn't interact with any medications that you're taking.
Okay.
So do you know the specific strains that aren't okay with certain medications? I'm not familiar.
No, I'd have to look them up again. No.
Okay.
But
it's in the blog post. I'm pretty sure. Oh no, it might be in I think it's in the course maybe.
We talk a lot about
all that.
We talk about probiotics in the course. We talk about specific strains that have been identified as potentially aggravating to Parkinson's symptoms. Yeah, Enterobacteriaceae is a disrupted gut bacteria in Parkinson's. You're really like testing my memory now. Protovellaceae are in one of the modules, but those were more talking about just how they're different in a Parkinson's gut than in a regular gut.
But still medication interaction to be worried about, so that's good.
Yeah, I would double check, Bridget, just to make sure that it doesn't, if you're taking certain medications, that it doesn't interact. So getting that okay from your healthcare provider who knows your medication regimen would probably be a better bet. Let's see. So many good questions. Jamie Shepard asked, can you eat too much fruits?
Not really.
I mean, if I was eating,
if you're diabetic, if you're not diabetic, honestly, I mean, too much of a good thing is not a good thing, right? You can overdo water. So yeah, I mean, if you're eating fruit all day long for every meal and not having fats and proteins, that's not the best diet, right? So yeah, I guess you could eat too much, but I don't want you guys to be fearful of fruit. Having fruit a couple of times a day is more than beneficial for your health. So, you guys don't fret about fruit. There's so much fruit fear. It makes me really sad because fruit is so good for you guys.
Fruit is good. And, combining it with a healthy protein and making sure that you're kind of balancing maybe some of that sugar out. If you're having sugar at every meal, like Casey said, combining it in her PPFF, protein and phytonutrients, fat and fiber. Make sure you're getting that protein and fat component if you're having a lot of fruit, I would think, is what she's been saying.
So let's say you have like a cherry bowl for after dinner. It would be even better to have a source of fat or protein with your cherries to help balance your blood sugar throughout the night.
Cool. Like almonds.
Yeah, like a handful of almonds or some almond butter or a jerky stick or, there's many options. So
definitely. Let's see. Sandy Markham is in here. She asked fresh fruits versus frozen fruits. Do you have a take?
Yeah, so frozen fruits and vegetables, actually, it's a really cool technology now because they can flash freeze it at the peak of freshness. So it really does maintain its antioxidant potential, which is really cool. However, I would kind of argue that canned is not the best, and we talk about that in the course as well. Canned fruits and vegetables have actually shown to increase Parkinson's disease progression. So frozen and fresh are your best bets when it comes to fruit.
Yes, and I do have to say the language there is really important. It's actually canned fruits and vegetables have been correlated with a faster Parkinson's
correlated
progression.
for sure. Yeah.
Yes. So we're not saying that canned fruits progress Parkinson's, but there is a correlation between people who eat canned fruits and vegetables and a faster disease progression, according to some of Dr. Lori Mishley's work, which is really highlighted in our protocol. So that's awesome. Let's see. We've got John Hogan says, sucrose isn't high fructose corn syrup the real concern. Do you want to handle that?
High fructose corn syrup the real concern? Is that what the question was?
I mean, I think maybe just having a conversation about high fructose corn syrup and its effect.
Yeah, I mean, it's
on
just
your blood sugar.
It's a form of sugar, but it's really potent. So just a little bit can make your blood sugar go way up. Okay. So, it's just a super high potency form of sweetener that can really wreak havoc on your blood sugar.
Yes.
What was the other part of the question? Something about sucrose? Or what's the difference?
He just said sucrose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's just that high fructose corn syrup is a concern. It definitely is, John.
For sure.
It definitely is. And then we've got Crystal says, what about those of us who have issues with proteins and our medication absorption?
Yeah, so you want to make sure you have more protein for lunch and for dinner. So less at breakfast if you're taking it in the morning. So having a lot of healthy fats in the morning is going to be important to keep your blood sugar stable because you're not going to have that same amount of protein that you're going to get throughout the day. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And there are kind of some conflicting views about protein and should you eat protein and within the reason why protein, if you're going to have, say, protein from maybe meats or fish, to maybe have those proteins later, maybe time, because if it competes with medication absorption, then it may not be as detrimental as had, eggs. It was fighting with absorption during your day when you're trying to function. Protein timing is definitely important. You don't want to take protein and your medication together, but hopefully those are some tips to help work to have protein and to not. Let's see. We're tuning in. So I don't know, Casey, if you, but I doubt. Sharon asks, but we've gotten this question at every Facebook done. Do you know any supplement?
I'm not familiar with it. What is it?
Me neither.
I can look it up real fast.
I don't. Okay, well, you can look it up while I hunt for more questions. I think that
gold.
Yeah, the answer here.
Okay, so it basically helps support mitochondrial function.
You're looking it up, Casey. Okay.
You're kind of going in and out for some reason. You're breaking up. Am I breaking up?
Okay. Not to me. Let's continue on if you can.
Okay. Description.
While you're looking it up.
I see what's in it. Okay, so this is actually really good. This is great. Okay, so so it's got L-tyrosine, which is the precursor to dopamine. It's got taurine, which has been really good for brain health. Grapeseed extract, green tea leaf, also really good antioxidant for brain. NAC is one of my favorites. It's kind of low dose in a lot of these things. Like 400 milligrams really isn't going to move the needle. You really need like 1,200 milligrams a day. And then it's got alpha lipoic acid, which is really good. But honestly, you probably benefit from taking these things separately and in higher dosages to really like move the needle and see benefit. But yeah, I mean, it looks good. It's got all great ingredients in it. So I'm a fan.
Casey's endorsement, Restore Gold.
I
I think we lost her. Maybe she'll come back. We'll give it a second. Okay, so it sounds what Restore Gold in a dose of a lot of things that she finds beneficial for brain health. So I don't want to say for sure take it or don't take it. I don't know how much it costs, but it seems like Casey has given up. It might not to really see it. So I don't know if researching of taking these individually might be a better investment than taking Restore Gold, a really low dose. I'm not going on here. We've lost. Oh, Casey is back. Hello. Can you hear me?
I'm here. Hello. Yeah.
I don't know if that was me or you, but she's back, everybody. So Restore Gold.
Restore Gold it's a good one. I mean, it does have some good stuff in it. I don't know about the quality in terms of like where they're sourcing their ingredients and things like that. That's why I always recommend like a provider-based supplement, because I actually know where they're getting their ingredients from. And I don't know if those dosages are active dosages. Like 400 milligrams of NAC with 4 capsules is not very much. So I would probably take those things in the. Yeah, I would think so. I would think it wouldn't be cost effective. But hey, I mean, if it's easy, you want to take just one thing, it's not bad. My endorsement.
Okay. Hear me? Okay, Casey?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're kind of breaking up, but it's okay right now.
Okay, we'll finish this. And let's see. Someone asked about, I got a little echo, about if sugar impacts levodopa, carbidopa absorption.
Mm-hmm. You're kind of breaking up.
Levels in carbidopa. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah, I think I can hear you. Just kind of going in and out. Am I doing that?
Nope, you're fine. Let's see. Let's see if I can come back. Woo! Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Just seems like the video is like slow. Yeah.
And here, I'll put you on full screen. And wondering if dried fruits are okay and which ones are the best options.
So when it comes to dried fruit, you really want to make sure it doesn't have any added sugar. I find that most dried fruit has a lot of added sugar in it. And it's really concentrated. So, I prefer you guys to have more fresh fruit versus dried fruit, because it can be a lot of sugar in a small amount. So not really filling with more sugar. I think I answered the question. Did I? Or no?
Yep.
Sometimes it's hard. The question isn't popping up on my end for some reason.
Okay. Well, let's see. You answered that question. Then Bill asks, I chew 2 to 3 pieces of xylitol gum a day. Is this harmful?
No, it's not harmful. I mean, unless it can give you some increased gastrointestinal issues, like increased gas. But xylitol is a pretty okay sweetener compared to most.
Okay, beautiful. Thanks for your question, Bill. Really appreciate it. Sharon asks, what about fava beans? Will it be helpful for Parkinson's symptoms?
Yeah. So I do think there is some good research that it does help increase dopamine. I'm not sure of like the proper amounts of fava beans. And what was it? The mucuna purines also is really beneficial as well. But yeah, I'm not sure of like the exact amounts of fava beans to like really have an impact.
Okay.
I have to do a little bit more reading on that.
It looks like my video is still not working, but I can chime in about fava beans and mucuna puree.
How do you say it? Yeah.
Okay. Which is the supplement that comes from fava beans. So the difficulty around fava beans is the dosing. Like Casey was saying, it's really hard to know how much dopamine support you're getting from something like fava beans, which is a food, and your gut breaks it down differently, and you're not really sure of what dosing you're getting. We do talk about mucuna purines in the course, and as far as dosages are concerned, but mucuna purines has been helpful for people to reduce the medication levodopa carbidopa levels. So in order to take that, though, I would really encourage you to have some guidance from a healthcare provider. We do a little bit in the course, but I would say that messing with mucuna purines without the assistance of your movement disorder specialist is not a great idea. So
yeah, you have to make sure you balance it with your medication, because you're
you can come back.
or no. There you are.
Oh, here I am.
There you are.
Hello, everybody. All right, let's see. There
you are.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm not sure what's going on here. We do have more questions, but my video is going in and out. I have this terrible echo right now.
Oh, no.
So we're going to sign off, but we're going to collect all of the questions. And if there's an opportunity for us to do another broadcast or another Q&A with Casey, we will get that on the books. So Casey, go ahead and let people know where to find you.
Yeah, so you guys make sure to follow me on Instagram. I'm at the.brain.dietitian. And to contact me, you can go to my website, theoryhealth.com, or email me anytime at casey@theoryhealth.com. I got some really great questions from you guys last time. Some of you guys emailed me, so please don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being on here,
My
Casey.
pleasure.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you found this video beneficial, give it a like, share it with a friend, share it with your healthcare providers, your support groups, anybody. And stay tuned for our announcement about the Parkinson's Gut Health Protocol.
Woo! Get excited.
Yes, ma'am. All right.
All right. Bye, you guys.
Yes.
Anything else?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was just going to say, sending you all big hugs. And, of course, keep moving until we see you next time. Bye.